We're going to open up to some questions. We're going to get all the singers back on too, so they can ask questions also if they want. I might take some of you up here to sing for me now. What do you think? I'm kidding, right? Come on, everybody. Come on out. Does anybody have any questions to start? I think there are microphones on the side, but if you're in front, I can always repeat. We didn't do anything dangerous today that you can definitely try it at home. McDonald's has very good straws. No questions? Oh, there's one in the back.
Thank you. Could you please just explain the pencil? I wasn't sure if they were holding it in their teeth or...
Well, the pencil is... I'll use my straw. Well, no, I have a pencil. Look at that. Okay. So, yeah, if you hold it between your teeth. I sometimes use my finger. Everybody try that. Just put your finger between your teeth and do like a siren. Do you feel the buzz? You know what? When I was in 7th grade, I had a voice teacher who made me do it with sort of an ID card. And I thought it was the weirdest thing. I was so embarrassed. But when you're in middle school, you're embarrassed about everything. So that's the pencil, and then the straw you can do many more things with. It has much more variety. But these are just aids. They're really aids. I mean, I sang my first Verdi Requiem with my score in a telecast with a small mirror taped to the top of the score so that I could make sure my tongue didn't go back on the high C. Because, I have to find this somewhere, except that somebody did my hair. This was in Italy. It literally looked like a helmet. And it was a very windy day, and everybody's clothing, everything is flying all over, and my hair never moved, not a single hair. Not good. Yeah. So these are all aids because singing, it's just the control of all these different muscle groups and your ear and your imagination and languages. It is really challenging. It does take an awful long time to learn how to do well. Is that helpful? The pencil, okay. Any other questions? Singers, come on out. Come out wherever you are. Was I that hard on them? Dear. Okay, I'll take another question while I'm waiting. Yes.
Hi.
I'm sorry. We have a microphone. I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
Hi. Thank you very much. Just an advice about how to avoid losing the voice when you go on the flu or something. I'm a jazz singer, actually, but I thoroughly enjoyed your masterclass. But as you can hear, my voice is not there. Just some advice about how maybe to avoid or how to face a concert when you have to do it. And
if you're not well, you mean?
If you're not well.
Oh, boy. So, I mean, if it's a cold and if a little bit of phlegm is causing the hoarseness, then you can steam that off usually, warm up more gently, take more time, a lot of humming and gentle warm-up. If your vocal folds are swollen, then that's a little bit trickier and you definitely want to make sure you see a doctor, make sure it's something that you can still sing on a little bit. I mean, I don't know how people in musicals do it. And I hear them, also actors. I hear a lot of them in vocal distress and they just keep going over night after night after night. So I know people do it. We as classically trained singers, I think for us it's so risky. We tend, if we have swollen folds, we tend not to we tend to cancel. But you can carefully do it. Do you have any questions, any of you?
I've got what I think will be quite a boring question for the audience, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I find traveling, particularly on planes, like horrifically dehydrating, and like my idea of a nightmare would be to have to get off a plane and then sing immediately after, or that night, or the next day. Do you find that difficult, and do you have anything that you do kind of
The
minimize
lifestyle is so hard, and I'm so thrilled that you just gave me this ability to drop a very big name. I got a nice email from Hugh Jackman saying, oh, have you discovered this amazing thing that you take on a plane, but you have to wear it like a mask? It's a plane humidifier. So he said, Hugh Jackman probably books the entire first class, so he can wear whatever he wants, I'm thinking. But I've seen them advertised, but I haven't done it. I just try to stay hydrated, and I swear, again, the straw will help you vocalize without, on a dry throat, without pushing too fast. And then I just take it easy. But mind over matter, half the time when I think I'm hoarse or dry, I'm usually either nervous or anxious or just have that performance pressure. So I try to get past it by just going easy. But you do have to stay hydrated, no question. Whatever that takes, if you have to spray Evian every 5 minutes or just drink a lot, take a long shower when you get where you're going. It's really just about hydration. So they tell me. I wonder if John is still here, the doctor. Yeah. Anything else? Hey, I promised somebody here. Yes, your question was about emotion.
How do you manage emotions?
Oh, how do we manage emotions? Oh, that's a great question. Do any of you have an answer to that? How you manage emotions when you're performing?
Pray.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's a fine line, isn't it? Because you want to put your piece in an emotional context for the audience so you connect with the audience. But if you go too far, you can't sing anymore. You never want the audience to say, ooh, is Renee going to get through this? Ooh, she must have something personal in mind. Then you've gone too far. But if you go far enough to make them feel what your character is feeling, it's perfect. And I'm constantly working on that, actually. Do you all work on that as well? You do, clearly, because you give committed performances. Okay, there was one. Okay, hang on. We'll come back to you. Do you have a microphone up there? Okay,
Yes.
So all right, we'll come right back to you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, because you've talked a lot about the breath and not using too much.
Yes.
And not using too little either, saying something in between.
Yes.
And I'd be really interested to know how you think of the breath moving in your body and kind of keeping it free without using too much and feeling like you're just,
I'm
breathing
glad
out
you
really
asked.
hard the whole time. And also, like how you kind of keep it all free and relaxed whilst.
So this is one of the hardest things about learning singing technique is the breath management, because part of it is learning how to just take in a terrific breath, right? So you have to first get that going without lifting your shoulders and getting tense. So once we've mastered that, because that's not really so hard, just all of you lean over and go, okay, now put your hand on your back and do the same thing. Exhale and feel your back expand. Gus, you're not doing it. Come on. Okay, so do you feel that nice expansion around there? Because if you're not expanding everywhere, then you might be tense somewhere. So that's why it's not just lower breath, it's also the rib cage. So for me, learning how to breathe intercostally and getting the rib cage to expand was really important. So just put your hands here, everybody, like your chickens and chicken wings, and really make that expand to the side. All the way up to your armpit and your chest. Watch Fischer Dieskau on YouTube. Watch a lot of singers on YouTube, and now exhale. Don't raise your shoulders. Exhale. That collapses. Now do it one more time. God, that feels good. Isn't that good? Yeah, so you always want that total expansion, and the mistake we make when we're singing a long phrase or a high phrase or we're thinking about power is to collapse all that and push too much air through the folds, which makes for a harsh sound or a tense sound or a strident sound, and you want to keep this buoyant. So the idea is that once you've created this great breath, I'm going to do it again, Then you allow the voice to sit on this cushion of air, and it will collapse. You don't push it out, because that's another problem. It will collapse, but slowly. So if you were to push through a straw like that, you'll fill these muscles. You all do that. Those are the muscles you want control of. It's the only way we can control the diaphragm or this is this abdominal wall. So this is part of breath technique. So you don't want to push too much air, that's all. I never had that problem until I started doing a lot of Pilates, and I got core strength that then started creating an issue. So it's one of the things I now have to, another thing I have to think about. So question up there.
Yeah, this is actually going back to the previous discussion, the panel earlier this afternoon. And we were talking about artists in their 20s who are still between school and between professional work, and so there's a lot more experimental opera companies.
Yes.
And as an American actor, I'm always told I need to be constantly creating my own work. As a singer, I find that a little intimidating because I don't ever want to lose my technique in experimentation. But do you have any words of advice on how to not be afraid of what you don't know and how that could potentially harm you in the future?
Well, I sort of felt like new music was easier for me when I was starting out because it didn't require any sustained singing in the middle voice or in the passaggio, in the break. So it was a lot of, and I just found that easier. And a lot of people find it harder, so it depends a little bit on your vocal ability and your freedom with your voice. I also think anything that's sort of speech-based is probably not going to hurt you, because these small pieces tend not to require a huge amount of volume. But as actors, you know, one of the problems too is that everybody needs to sing in a more popular, women in particular have to raise a sort of what we used to call a belt voice, now we call it a mix, up high. That I find dangerous. If you don't know how to do it, nobody teaches you how to do it. And there are techniques now for that. There are a million of them online. Then you can be helped with it, but I can't do it, for instance. I have no idea. I have a break, and then, and that's, you know. Evgeny Kissin, I ran into him recently when he was practicing, and he said, Renee, you have to teach me how to sing. Listen, listen. I said, well, yeah, that's what happens, yeah. It takes a long time to even that out. Can't do it in 5 minutes. Okay, anything else? Yes, in the back. Thank you for your patience. How many of you are singers today? Oh, wow, that's so great. How many of you want to sing professionally? Yeah, all right, okay.
Hi, you touched on Pilates just a minute ago.
Yes.
And I wondered what your opinions were on kind of general exercise, whether you recommend certain things or not really as much.
I became a much better opera performer when I started doing all of that, you know, because before I think I wasn't as connected to my body, and now when I have a performance, I do Pilates because I feel stronger. Now I know Jonas Kaufmann. Has anybody ever heard of him? He does yoga every time he has a performance because I find that I then feel much more connected. So that's really important for breath. It's important for movement, and it's also extremely important for standing in high heels. So I'm a big believer. Whatever you can do to, you know, it's you know, fitness. Of course, we all should be fit, but it's really about maintaining that sort of physical ability to make a gesture or sing a gesture and feel free. Okay, one more question.
I'm really struggling to think of how to phrase this so that I'm clear about what I'm asking. You talked a lot about not using too much breath pressure at the top, in particular.
Yes.
And I wondered how you tie that in with support, particularly lower abdominal support. On a climactic top note, there's got to be a certain amount of oomph.
Yes,
But how do you
absolutely.
balance that?
So you'll know it's too much You know, if somebody sees you and you do a big gesture on that top note, or you do something that suddenly where it doesn't feel comfortable or it sounds tight or feels tight, then it's too much. Anything up to that is probably great. You definitely have to support, no question. I mean, that's what we're doing with this, making sure this rib cage is out, everything is open, the back, everything, and these muscles are definitely engaged. So when you start singing, you should feel a connection. Ha! Ha! But then maintain it. Don't collapse very quickly. Don't allow your rib cage to push in. You know, I mean, unless you're, you know, really exploding with something, that's different. I'm a lyric voice, so I'm tending to sing more long, sustained, you know, 4 last songs kind of phrases. So, but if you're a dramatic voice, then it may be different for you. No, I think you had a microphone up there, right? Was that it? Go ahead.
Hi, I just, as a young singer, I know a lot of us struggle with like being in school. We do a lot of back-to-back different things, like performing in like scenes or song and like going back and forth. What advice would you have for like somebody who's trying to like go to all of these like back-to-back rehearsals and like going through that while still maintaining a healthy like vocal health and things like that?
You're saying you're tired, right?
Yes, I'm very tired.
Yeah, I know. You know, just take solace in the fact that you're also young. It gets harder. But yeah, you know, it's technique. Use your head voice when you're tired, croon if you're tired, really go easy, and protect yourself also. You know when you have gone past your limit. You know when you're vocally tired, and stop. Sing it down an octave or mark. Don't overdo it. It's not, it doesn't help anybody if you can't perform when the time comes. So that's really the secret. I have to very much avoid loud places. I have to be careful about going to restaurants, going to places where there's a huge amount of noise. My speaking voice gets me in trouble very quickly. And a great jazz singer, songwriter, just gave me a fabulous trick. She said, when you go to a party, put in an earplug. I mean, I suppose it's the same thing that some singers do when they somehow close one ear. You hear yourself, and if you can hear yourself, you won't press. You won't push your voice, your speaking voice. And if people can't hear you, too bad. So I'm going to try that. So thank you very much. You've all been wonderful. Thank you.